Hey, woman of influence, Dion Johnson here, the womanologist. Welcome to the broadcast. Like I said, my name is Dion, also known as the womanologist because my work is really all about you. If you are a woman in senior leadership, you're a CEO, a director, a head of department, a strategic lead in your organization, my work and my name, the womanologist, is really linked to the truth that I am wholeheartedly committed to supporting the development of women in senior leadership, to keep evolving as influencers and change makers in their organization, their industry, and their field. So if that's you, I really want to welcome you to today's broadcast. This video is really the second part of a series that I'm running this week that looks at, it's called Opportunity Knocks, and it looks at the opportunity that we have presenting itself to us at such a time as this, when the world is upside down, when the world is going crazy, and when there is just so much uncertainty, so much crisis, so much confusion, so much ambiguity, that even in amongst all this darkness, that there are opportunities that I'm really encouraging us as women in senior leadership to be thinking about how we can grapple with and how we can really seize. There's a saying, isn't there, that we should make hay while the sun shines. And in the Bible, it talks about working while it's day. And both of them really are saying that, you know, opportunities come and go, and it's up to us to grab them and seize them when we have the chance to. So I'm making this series because as I think through what this season means for me, that there are several opportunities that I am making up my mind to grab a hold of. And I'm making this series to encourage you to do exactly the same. So today's opportunity that I want us to consider is that we have this opportunity to rethink connection. We have an opportunity to rethink connection. And I can see someone watching. Hi, wherever you're watching from, please say hi to me in the box. Let me know who you are. I can't see who you are unless you say hi. I'd love to welcome you personally. So yeah, I think we have this opportunity to rethink connection. And I looked in the dictionary to see what connection means. It means a relationship in which a person or a thing is linked or associated with something else. And I got to thinking about this really deeply this morning, because unexpectedly the doorbell rang, and it was the Sky guy. It was a guy that we've been having trouble with our internet and having trouble with our television, and so we booked an appointment for Sky Guy to come ages and ages ago. Maybe a couple of months ago we had this appointment booked, and so I completely forgot all about it in view of all that's going on. And this guy came, and I was really unsure about what to do with it. But he said, he wouldn't be long, that he just wanted to go to the box. For those of you that don't know, I care for my gran. She's 99, and so she's in the high risk category. So having a stranger come into the house isn't a great idea right now. But somehow I just decided that I was going to let him come in, because I asked him all these questions. I said, have you been abroad? Have you been sick? Have you been next to anyone that's been sick? And he's no, I'm fine. So I thought I'd let him go in and look at the Skybox. And as we got talking, it turns out that his mum, who's also in her 90s, that's how we kind of got talking about his mum, has been really, really ill to the point that she's been hospitalized and then released from hospital after a really long time in hospital. She's had upper respiratory tract illness. She's been really, really ill. And so this guy is now really should be self-isolating, but he's out doing house calls, and he's actually in our home. And so I was really, really thinking about this, and I said to him, how come you're out? How come you're here? How come you're doing this work? And he said, well, he hasn't been given the release to not be at work by his bosses, by his management. His management are still expecting him to do the work, and that if he doesn't do the work, that means he doesn't get paid. And he said to me, what am I supposed to do? He said, I've got a wife and I've got family that I am responsible for feeding and looking after. I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got bills to pay. I can't afford to take unofficial time off because I won't get paid, and I've got to look after my family. Well, I heard him loud and clear, and I was horrified that he was still out going house to house. But I completely understood what he was saying, that he's got all this other responsibility. And it really got me thinking about connection. It really got me thinking about how that's the way that we do things right now in our world. It is a bit like a few things, is that I've got to look after me and mine. I've got to look after me and mine. And the other thing that I see is if it's not happening if it's happening over there, but it's not happening over here, then I'm okay. If it's not happening to them, then if it's happening to them, then and it's not happening to me, then I can just not be concerned with what's going on over there. And I really believe that coronavirus has come to challenge us. It's given us the opportunity to really think those kind of sentiments through, to think about it. Because here's the thing. The coronavirus is really presenting us with the opportunity to see afresh that we're not disconnected. That if it's happening over there, then chances are, if it's not happening over here now, it's going to be happening over here pretty soon. That we have a responsibility to see how connected we are, and how connected what's happening with me or what's happening over there or what's happening with them is connecting us. That it's a joint experience, even if I can't see it yet, even if I can't see the connection yet, that we are interconnected. I've been really thinking about this, and this is unscripted. I mean, I've got some bullet points down on this card, but this is really unscripted. I really want you to hear my heart, that as we face this virus, as we face this crisis, we are being invited, I believe, to see our connections differently. Before all this kicked off, some of you all know that I spent a time last year writing a book, and the book is about leadership. And as I grappled with the content of the book, it really turned out that what was really at the root of my desire to write the book was my personal issue with the issue of inequality. How the way that we run our world is really unequal. It's like an unequal playing field. It's like it's based on the premise that some people are superior and valuable, other people are inferior and invaluable and not valuable at all, worthless. And I see this thinking, this mindset playing out all in the whole of the marketplace, whether it be recruitment processes, or the way that the hierarchies work, or the way that people are treated, the way that people are led, the people that are given access, the way people are paid. That inequality happens all over the place throughout our systems, and things like, it's usually associated with things like isms, racism, sexism, genderism, ageism. It's usually associated with things like injustice and unfairness, and that is at the root of all of that is this mal-thinking about connection. It's like, if it's happening over there and it's not affecting me over here, then I'm okay. I don't have to pay attention to that. I don't have to get connected with that. I don't have to think about that. I don't have to be concerned with that. So injustice, inequality, indifference, injustice and illness, and all of these isms and schisms are usually associated with gross indifference. And that indifference is just like the guy today is like, I've got to look after mine over here. Like, I haven't got time. Like, what's going on over there doesn't concern me. I think we've got an opportunity on our hands to really rethink that. It does concern us what's going on with them over there, or her next door, or him over there. Like, we are interconnected. We are joined. We are in this thing together. And if it's happening, if somebody over there is ailing, then we're all going to be ailing. If we're not ailing now, then we're going to be ailing. It's just hard to see this connection sometimes. And I'm really thinking about, this is really reminding me of my days as a clinician in midwifery. The amount of times that I had conversations with people who just were unable to see connections between things. So what's springing to mind right now is that smoking in pregnancy. So I would have conversation after conversation about the risks of smoking to the baby, to the unborn baby. And I would have conversation after conversation with women who would say to me, oh, she's not worried about that because she smoked through all of her pregnancies. She smoked through all of her pregnancies and you know, her kids are fine. Or her mum smoked through all of her pregnancy, or her grandma smoked through all of her pregnancies. We've all been smoking through and we're fine. Or we can't see the connection between smoking and damage to our unborn baby. Because not all connection is visible or immediately understandable or immediately obvious. Not all connection is immediately obvious. But here's the thing. I think that we're going to have to learn how to develop new eyes. Some connections we see with our IQ, we see with our intelligence, our capacity to think thoughts that join things up. So our IQ is how we get to see some of these connections. Our EQ is how we get to see other connections. So we learn how to understand and measure how we think about our feelings, how we acknowledge and measure our feelings, how we can understand why we feel what we feel. And that's how we can make some connections. We're feeling this because this is happening, or we're feeling, or she's feeling that because that. So we need EQ to see some connections. But here's the thing. We need SQ, spiritual intelligence, to see some things. We need SQ, spiritual intelligence is how much we are able to understand connection with spirit, connection with God, connection with the universe, connection with each other, connection with the planet, our relationship with all of these things. We need to develop that. You know, I'm really convinced that we need a spiritual revival. We need spiritual eyes so that we can see how things are things that aren't obviously connected are connected, how we are connected to each other. We need new eyes to see that that what doesn't, just because it's not obviously connected, just because we can't sense the connection, just because we feel disconnected, doesn't mean that we actually are. That we need to understand that we need to understand connection. We need to understand relationship beyond sensual intelligence, beyond our five senses. And so I believe that we've been presented with an opportunity to rethink connection. I think that we're being presented with an opportunity to understand how we relate to each other, even when the relationship and the connection isn't obvious. And this is going to be a critical, I mean, I prophesy and I project into the future that this is going to be a key asset for leadership in the years to come and in the time after this to come, that we're going to have to rethink how we are connected to each other. Just because we can't see how we're connected to other people, or what's going on in the world, or what's going on with her next door, or what's going on with him over there, doesn't mean that we're not connected. And yes, we do have to take care of ourselves, and we do have to take care of our own, but that cannot be done with the ignorant thinking that means to the exclusion of others. Because if we exclude what other people are going through, ultimately it's going to affect us and our own. It's going to ultimately come and land on our doorstep. This is an amazing opportunity. I think that we've got some time whilst we're on shutdown, whilst we're on lock-in, that we've got some time. We've got some brilliant opportunities, and rethinking connection is absolutely one of them. I want to thank you for joining me today. I would love to know what you think. please comment in the box. Let me know who you are. I can see you watching, but I don't know who you are. Comment if you know somebody who could do with this nudge to seize this opportunity, then please share this video. And if you'd like to talk or draw nearer, then email me at connect@thewomanologist.com. I'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock with another part 3 of this series, Opportunity Knocks, where I'll be looking at another opportunity that we have as women in senior leadership at such a time as this. Yeah, in such an uncertain season. So I'll see you then. Bye.